Hey guys, it's Adam. I hope you're doing lovely. Welcome back to Do You Watch Anime? It's a show where I sit down with a guest every week and ask them, "Do you watch anime?" And joining me today is voice actor in such anime as Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Jujutsu Kaisen, and also one of the hosts of the podcast you've been hearing a lot on this podcast. There we go. Promoted 4Kids Flashback.
Woo.
Tara Sands, how are you today?
Hello. Good. How are you doing?
Good. So, do you watch anime?
Oh, I hate this question. Here's the thing. If you work at a donut shop, you don't go home and eat donuts, probably.
Yeah.
That's how I have to explain it. So I would love to watch anime. The problem is if I start, and I'm sure you've heard this before, if I start to watch anime, I start watching the mouth flaps. If it's my show, I start critiquing. I hate everything I did. Why did they use that take? So I cannot enjoy it the way I would like to. So I don't for that, and for those reasons, I'm out, as they say on Shark Tank. Yeah.
That's valid. So how did you get into being an anime voice actor?
So I was a voice actor in New York. I started voice acting as a teenager, actually, and I was auditioning for every possible thing I could, theater, TV, commercials, blah, blah, audiobooks. I was doing whatever I could. And anime was just, I don't remember my Pokemon audition. I might have never auditioned. They might have just had a demo tape of mine. And I found myself recording an episode of this weird show called Pokemon. I thought I'd never see those people again. That was in like 98 or 99, I guess.
Okay,
Probably
yeah.
98. I don't know. I should know that. It was one of those years. It was a happy accident. And I always loved voiceover. So it was just another extension of voiceover for me in acting.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So obviously you play Bulbasaur and Oddish, who is one of my favorites.
I like him. He's like a drunk little radish.
Yeah, straight up.
Yeah. Right? That's how, adorable.
And Richie, who is best boy.
Who has words, who says actual human words. Yeah.
Exactly. Do you have like a vague number of how many characters you've played on Pokemon? Because holy.
It's over 50, but so many of them were like, it's like one-liners or, like the cheerleaders. Like, I know I would often be like, Gary, or whatever it was. And I don't even really add some of those into the count. It's like, let me see if I have my cheat sheet. I might have it. I have this. This is not the final version. I actually read.
Oh my god! Wow, you have like a printout and everything. I
bring it to conventions.
That makes sense.
I have a nicer version of this that I sign at conventions, and there's at least 50 on here, including the Pokemon themselves.
Yeah.
But again, like maybe they were in one episode. Recently I did an episode where I was Thwacky in one episode. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, I can count it, but it feels a little weird.
Yeah.
But most of the ones on that sheet legitimately had either like like they were like the person of the week in the episode, or they had a little bit more to say, or with the movies or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, I love
it. It's so weird.
I was just like, okay, I gotta make a full-on list.
You don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
You don't do any of it.
Yeah. So which characters in Pokemon have been your favorite to play?
It's so unfair to ask me that because the other ones are going to hear. Well, I just want to clarify something about that other point, though. Wait, now I forgot. I had it and I forgot. Wait, you asked me something about the list. I don't know. Favorite is again, like Oddish was really easy on my voice. Clefairy, that was really easy on my voice, so I liked those. The female characters are always more fun for me because I'm not straining. You know what I mean? Like not that it always hurts to do the boy voices, or Bulbasaur like kills my throat. Yamper, it shreds it.
Yeah.
So the ones that hurt less. and that I can really sing, like Anna and Shaman King. And oh, I know what I was gonna say. The reason I don't really know how many I played is because, and we talk about this on my podcast all the time, we didn't keep notes and they didn't keep notes. So, like, they kept notes of, like, the big stuff, but 4Kids didn't give individual credits. They just would list, like, it's so incredibly frustrating. They would just list a bunch of actor names, so but for the season often.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes, like, we can't even necessarily figure out if we were in that like, I'd have to sit and I don't think I can handle sitting and watching every
Yeah, that's a lot.
it's a lot. Yeah, and I just recently found out, like, the Darren Dunstan directed a lot of episodes, and he goes, "Tara, you know you were Mudkip, right?" And I was like, "No, I wasn't." And he's like, "You definitely were." He sent me a soundbite, and I was like, "Oh."
Oh, I love that. Oh my god.
But just and I'll get off this in a minute, but sometimes they like, back in the day, and they do not luckily do this anymore, they had some kinda, like, 10-line or under rule. So, like, if Mudkip had less than 10 reactions, they would try to pull it from a pool of reactions that we had done, like, "What?" And, like, use them if they could to with the mouth flap, they would try to place it and not pay us. So, there was a lot of times, like, I'd be in an episode that I never worked on.
Oh my god, that's crazy. That's oh my
Those were the old
god.
days. The
Yeah.
Pokemon, does not that was a 4Kids thing. That's
Yeah,
not what happens now.
yeah. So, speaking of 4Kids and
Mhm.
4Kids Flashback, how did
Mhm.
the idea for the podcast come to be?
You know, I do these conventions, like, for the
Mhm,
past few years, and I would get asked so many questions I couldn't answer about the shows, and there was interest. I didn't realize that there was interest in this
mhm,
place as a company and what they did. Why did they say this? Why did they cut this? And I was like, I have no idea. Like, we were just guns for hire. You know, we'd come in,
mhm,
we'd say our lines. Maybe we knew a little bit more if we were, we were friendly and with people that worked there. But um and then I kept thinking, oh, I want to do a podcast about 4Kids, but what's the angle? What's the angle? And I couldn't find an angle. And then I was like, wait a minute. I'm overthinking this. I just have to talk to as many people as I can that worked there. Let's just tell the story of the company. I've tried to craft it in a way, like how I pace the episodes and things like that, and get some outside people who worked at, like, Nintendo, who can talk about their relationship with 4Kids, things
okay,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But yeah, that's just the gist of it. I kind of was like, if no one has done this, our memories are terrible now. They're just gonna get worse. I better just jump on it while we can remember something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, so what has been some of the, like, kinda coolest, like, kinda mind-blowing, stories you've had on the show?
I didn't really know much about lost media before I
Mhm,
started working on the show. I assumed that, like, anything after a certain year, maybe 1990, was just saved somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, we had the technology. Like, once
mhm,
something could be on a DVD, or I don't know. Um, and we worked a lot, early days we were on VHS, but I still thought, okay, this stuff isn't lost. And then I started finding out the depth of what was lost. And it wasn't just a loss of episodes that had aired. There was a loss of episodes that had never aired, but that got dubbed. Like a show like Ultraman Tiga,
yeah,
uh, dubbed a ton of episodes, but the show got canceled before they aired them.
mhm,
So we were able to dig up one of those unaired episodes.
mhm,
Funky Cops, like, we found a couple lost episodes of that, like, because there have been other versions of it, so some of those exist online, but there's a ton of lost episodes of those shows, and, like, and then you could go down the rabbit hole of lost media in general,
yeah.
which is a little too overwhelming to me. I can't handle that, but I can at least try with the 4Kids one to at least ask people if they have anything. At least we're trying to talk to the right people, but
Mhm,
we haven't been as successful as I'd like, but we're trying.
yeah,
So
yeah,
the shock was, I mean, if you're asking what's surprising, just
mhm.
the fact that these did not readily exist somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, it always blows my mind to know what is lost media from, like, my childhood or something, and I'm like, "What?" Like, how does that happen?
Yeah,
Like
and then I started putting up someone was telling me that, because I hosted a TV show on Cartoon Network
mhm,
for 2 years, and '05 and '06,
Mhm.
and I didn't know that that was considered lost media. I'm like, "Well, I have the DVD." It's like, I've had 'em, yeah, so I started putting those up online because
Mhm.
I was like, I this they're just interstitials, it's not like this is like a TV show that someone owns and could repurpose. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, so I've been putting that stuff up because again, like, I know how frustrating it is to not have the stuff you wanna see.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. So how did you like what made you want to get into acting in general?
it wasn't a choice, it just I knew it's what I wanted to do. Like, I
Mhm.
say that to people all the time when people are like, "I wanna do voiceover." I go, "It has to be the only thing you wanna do." Like,
Mhm.
this is not a job that I recommend, acting in general. It's
Yeah.
so uncertain, it's you have to be so passionate. I was a kid, this is what I wanted to do. That was it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw a show when I was, like, 5, a play, and I realized what an actor like, I there was kids in the play, and I was like, "That's a real person." And as soon as I that clicked, I was like, I could do that." Like, if, like, that's something a person can do, cool.
Mhm.
Because I think there's a disconnect, like, when you're watching a TV show or a movie, like, like, especially, like, Pokemon, these parents come with their kids to my table, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Say hi," and I'm like, "I don't wanna ruin like, do the voice." I'm like, let that kid have that illusion for a little bit longer that Pokemon is not just some lady."
Yeah.
Like, I hate ruining it for them.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool when they're old enough to get it,
Mhm.
and then they're like, "Oh, that's awesome."
Mhm.
But there's an age when I'm like, "Oh, no, 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 don't do that." But I get like, I understand the instinct to want
Mhm.
your kid to understand that because it's a cool experience if they're into the show.
Yeah.
But it's like killing Santa Claus, you know? I'm like, "I don't wanna kill Santa Claus. Don't make me do that." So
What
I
do you mean?
just
What do you mean Bulbasaur's a lady? What
yeah, I know. Well, that's I mean, even, something really interesting on the podcast, we
Mhm.
talked to Veronica Taylor, and in the early days of Pokemon, they did not want her to do any publicity at all because they didn't want kids to know that it was a female voicing a male.
Yeah.
They
Oh
thought
my
maybe
god.
that would, like, you know, make them not like, I don't know what the thought process was,
Mhm.
um, but that's true, and it's not just because it's like, "Ew, it's a girl." It's not that, it's just
Mhm.
that this is a a cartoon character.
Yeah.
That's what it is, it's not a real human,
Mhm.
you know? So I think sometimes putting a human face to these is again, after a certain age, it's fine, but yeah,
Yeah.
when they're too little. Like, my cousin's kids are almost 5, and they just, like they know that I have something to do with Bulbasaur, but they don't get what. Like, they're like, "Cousin Towa, Bulbasaur," and, like, they don't get what that
Yeah.
means. Like, they know that I give them a lot of Bulbasaur presents or, like, if I have something, I'm like, "Here, you want that?"
Yeah.
Yeah, so but I'm not gonna, like, be like, "I am Bulbasaur." I can't do it's just yeah, it just feels douchey.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one way to put it.
"Hey, kid,
Yeah. Guess what?
respect me."
Oh my god. So speaking of cons, how has that been for you to be like because I grew up with Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh and like there were such big parts of my childhood growing up. Like how is it seeing that on the con side and people, saying that?
I feel like I'm meeting all the children I babysat for and didn't even know I was and didn't get paid to babysit for. Um, no, it's awesome. I mean, honestly, it's like this icing on the cake to this job was very cool.
Mhm.
And then I moved and I stopped doing that job and for it to still to for it to have come back around into my life in this way where I get to meet people who it's important to is so cool. I mean, what's sweet like and the conventions in general, I always say, like, I'm meeting the best of a city. Like, even if I
Yeah.
go to a city that people are like, "Oh, that place is the worst." I'm meeting, like, the geeks and the greatest people that it has to offer.
Mhm.
Um, Conventions are like these wonderful artistic safe spaces in most cases. Um, so it's been awesome. I mean, people I'm there representing something. I'm not Pokemon. Like, I always have to explain that. Like, I know people know that, but, like,
Mhm.
my ego couldn't handle thinking that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, it's too big an idea. So,
Mhm.
I'm there representing, and if they need to unload to me, like, a lot of it is very emotional because it's
Mhm.
like, "Oh, I lost someone passed away and I watched Pokemon to get through it, or Yu-Gi-Oh! I was a little brother and blah, blah, whatever it is, I start learning, like, sometimes too many details,
Mhm.
but it's really lovely that they feel like if they feel better after the interaction, I'm thrilled.
Mhm.
So, it's
Yeah.
really I'm very lucky to be doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. I cosplay as well, so
Oh,
can
what do you cosplay?
I cosplay Tanjiro, like, from Demon Slayer, Deku from My Hero,
Oh.
a bunch of others. Yeah, I just conventions are so much fun.
Yeah, and they've exploded. Like, there's so many, maybe too many now, like, I think maybe, like, it could be oversaturated a bit, but
Yeah.
I think it'll level out,
Mhm.
only because sometimes they're competing with each other, they're in the same area, and
Yeah.
then you can't go to everything.
Mhm.
Um, make sure my phone is turned off. It was. Uh, yeah, they're lovely places, and sometimes I meet, like, teenagers who are there with a parent who are new to it, and I like to talk to the parents and be like, "This is" like, because 'cause they're wary
Mhm.
sometimes. Like, "My kid's really into this," and I'm like, "These are good these are for the most part, like, it's great that you're here to chaperone, but these are pretty good people that they'll meet. It's a good group to get in with," and, I mean,
Mhm.
especially cosplayers, like, who are creative and a lot of them making these incredible things, like, what a healthy, lovely interest to be
Yeah.
in to have, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Could be worse things to be into, yeah.
Yes!
Yeah, and
Sports! No, I'm just kidding.
oh, yeah,
I'm
exactly.
kidding.
Ugh. Sports that aren't sports anime? Ugh.
Ooh. You could not get me to watch a sporting event unless it was like, I'd a baseball game live is fun
Yeah.
because it's the atmosphere, but I'm not gonna turn it on. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I will sit there at, like, a restaurant and be like, "Ooh, hockey," because we're Canadian, so
Oh, yeah,
obviously
you
it's
have
in
to.
our yeah, we have
Yeah.
to, and I'll just be like, "Okay," but I'm not, like, gonna go out of my way and be like, "Let's turn on the hockey game."
Right, and no disrespect to sports
No.
lovers, it's just not my scene, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and it always makes me laugh 'cause sometimes you'll get the, "Ooh, anime's so weird," and I'm like, "But you wear sports jerseys all the
Yeah,
time."
it's cosplay. Like,
Yeah,
they don't even understand that that's cosplay. They're pretending to be a member of a team that they have nothing to do with.
yeah,
My I like when people say, "My team," I'm like,
yeah.
"They don't care about you."
Yeah, I just Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think that needs to be more clear that wearing
Mhm.
a sports jersey is cosplay. I
Yeah,
think that idea needs to be broader. Okay,
yeah.
we'll work on that.
100%. It was funny actually at New York Comic because we're Canadian, but we go to New York Comic Con, like, every year now.
Mhm.
Um, you stopped us. Um
I did. What were
Yeah,
you
yeah.
wearing that I stopped you?
I was out of cosplay, my partner was in Nobara, and you
Oh, you
just I
guys did Jujutsu Kaisen. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and, you said a Utahime line, and we're like
It's fun to mess with people like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. We're
Or
like
sometimes I'll do it and people don't like, especially if I'm not like I was probably at my table.
Yeah,
So you knew who I was, but sometimes I'll just like I'll do it for my own fun, and I'm
yeah,
not gonna be like, "I'm the voice actor."
yeah.
Like, I can't. Like, once in a while if I think they wanna know that, but yeah, it's so much fun to see people walk by but sometimes what's very strange is, like, people would be dressed in Bulbasaur, like, head to toe or, like, have, like, a bag and a thing, and they'll see my thing and then not come over, and I'm like, "Don't you wanna just say hi? I wanna meet you."
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, we were like, "Oh my god, that was so cool."
Oh, good, I'm so glad. Oh,
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah, it was I was like, "Ah!"
That makes me
Um,
happy because a lot of the times those interactions are so fast that
yeah.
I'm like, "Do they just think I'm crazy?"
Oh my god,
Uh,
imagine we're like, "What the hell?"
like, crazy that it's just yelling Utahime lines at everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. It could be
So,
weird.
speaking of JJK, you
Mhm.
play Utahime and Momo,
Mhm, and Baby
um,
Panda.
and Baby Panda.
Don't forget that Baby
Nope,
Panda.
can't forget
He's
Baby
so
Panda.
cute.
How was it being in another cultural hit? Because holy crap.
Yeah, it's so crazy, and what's so weird, and I mean, I'm sure you guys who watch all this, we can't predict what's a hit. Like, there's
Yeah.
shows that I've worked on that I've thought were really solid and good shows that
Mhm.
just don't get publicity. No one happens to see them. So I don't. it's a weird feeling when all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, wait, people are watching that one?" I mean, we work on 80% of what we watch you've never seen.
Yeah.
You know, like, and it's a bummer, but it's just part of the I mean, literally, like, we did so much direct to video stuff back in the day, like, while I was working at 4Kids, like,
Mhm.
no hardly anyone watched.
Yeah.
So, even stuff on Netflix that, like, I did the new Shaman King, like, hardly anyone saw it, it was such a shame, but so when JJK hit, I don't always buy it right away. I'm like, "Okay, maybe
Mhm.
they like it now." Like, it takes a while for me to believe that it's a success, but how
Totally.
it's super fun to be part of. I
Mhm.
mean, how could it not be?
Yeah.
And that's a really good cast, so if I'm paired up with them, like KG Tang and I, who plays Gojo, we just, commissioned a print of our characters together, and we're
Oh.
gonna have it for the first time at a convention in, like, 2 weeks.
Yo, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm really excited. So, like, that's a fun cast, and, yeah, so I feel super lucky to be part of it,
Yeah.
and I just saw they're doing something cool at Universal Studios. Hopefully,
Yeah.
my characters will be involved. I have no idea, so,
Yeah.
yeah,
Get a Momo
it's
ride, riding all the broomsticks. Come on, it just writes itself. Come on.
but again, like, not I look at, like, nothing will ever be Pokemon,
Oh, no.
so that's what's so fun is that, like, okay, this other stuff is big hits in the moment, like My Hero, like, that was cool to do one
Mhm.
episode of or whatever, but, like, I was so spoiled by the longevity of Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so as fun as things are, I have it's a weird bar to live up to.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I totally, like, I get it. But how does it feel to be, kind of you're a part of 2 really iconic scenes with the, "You crying" line
I
and
I had no idea. Someone I really didn't know that that was a big deal, and then someone asked me to write that on the Funko Pop, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, that was funny," and then I watched a clip of it, and I was like and now I realize that but we don't know that in the moment.
Oh, yeah.
We have no idea. So, yeah, I find out way later. But, that's actually what's been fun about the podcast, like,
Mhm.
telling people that they're part of a meme. Like,
Yeah.
my co-host, Steve Yurko, knows that
Mhm.
much better than I do. So he'll be like, "Do you know that people, like, quote this thing?" And they have no idea. Because some of them are not on social media or,
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah, I had n
Yeah.
no clue. What was the other one? You said there were
Uh,
2? What was the
yeah,
other
the
one?
other one's, Nobara's, like, really epic monologue about
Oh,
being a woman, and I'm like, "Oh my god," and Momo's a part of that. Oh, so
oh my
good.
god, Anne is so good.
Yep.
Anne Yatko in that scene,
Mhm.
holy crap. Like,
Yep.
again, I don't watch, like, full things, but I'll watch
Mhm.
stuff like that
Yeah.
just to know who, like, the people play in the cast or,
Mhm.
just when I see them so I can be like, "You're awesome."
Yeah.
Um, she's gonna be even bigger than she's just super friggin' talented, and
Yeah.
that scene's badass, and I'm happy to be a small part of it, but that's her scene, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oof.
Oh my god. I remember watching that and just I was like, "Wow, I am seeing something special right now."
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, she kicks ass, man. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Oh, I love it. So, earlier I said Yu-Gi-Oh was a huge part of my life.
Aw.
Yeah, it like literally I I tell this story on the podcast all the time. So the trading card game and the anime were really huge in my like tiny town of Canada. And so I I cheated at Yu-Gi-Oh a bunch because I sucked. Yeah. Um so I would print out Yu-Gi-Oh cards from my printer and glue them to actual crappier Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
And you thought
Um
people would not know?
I mean, they were children, so it fooled them for, like, 6 months, it was great. Um
I don't know. That seems like at a certain age you would just realize it what or you just had very good skills at
Yeah, I
gluing.
guess,
You had gluing skills.
yeah.
Look, I did not that was not
Oh,
timed. I was taking a
hell
sip from
yeah.
my Yu-Gi-Oh thing.
Love that. So, how did you approach playing Mokuba?
I have no idea. No, I mean, listen, it's
Mhm,
okay, we didn't have a ton of information when we did that show. Like, because again, we were working quickly. That wasn't a huge character, so there weren't like a bunch of auditions for it the way there were for some other characters who probably knew more going in.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that I'm a little brother. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't know all the kidnapping was gonna happen. I didn't, I mean, like I didn't know what was gonna come up, but I'm there to humanize Seto. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's my function on that show.
Yeah.
Like when you're not the lead of a show, you're there. You kind of got to figure out what purpose you serve. You work on your character, but also you're
Mm-hmm.
like, how do I serve the story?
Yeah.
Um, so I'm there to humanize Seto. And it was funny. We interviewed Lisa Ortiz yesterday, who played Serenity,
Mm-hmm.
and we were like, oh yeah, we were kind of like parallels in the little sister, little brother world, and how we helped you see a different side of those two characters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, like, and again, you kind of find the character. Like when you watch early episodes of any show, like I always give the Simpsons example, like he sounds completely different. So
Oh yeah.
like hopefully by the middle of the season 1, or maybe I had hopefully figured out more about him that
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's you don't wanna think you're annoying when you're playing a character, but he is annoying. Like,
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
play but it's in the writing and it's in the
Mm-hmm.
story, and I would just want people to relate to that who are a little brother or have a little brother, so
Mm-hmm.
I just went with that, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what was fun is returning many years later for Dark Side of Dimensions,
Mm.
and he's like a new person, which is so much fun, and by that point, I knew more about Yu-Gi-Oh! In general, we all did, and I knew more of his backstory about his parents and all that, and
Mm-hmm.
then you can bring all that to it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no one ever said the word manga to us. No one ever said, "Hey, you should read the manga to know what's going on." I wish they had. That would have been
Mm-hmm.
really cool.
Yeah. Last year at London, Ontario Comic-Con,
Mhm.
I got to interview Greg Abbey, who plays
Aw,
Tristan. Yeah.
best. Oh,
Yeah.
he's the best.
And so I was like, how was it playing Tristan? And then he's like, Tristan was a guy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, we grew to love them, the
Yeah.
characters, but at the start, we just
Yeah.
and again, we didn't know how many episodes, like, I didn't Mokuba coulda died in 2 episodes. I
Yeah.
didn't know.
Hmm.
And we're learning again with the podcast that there was a lot of, some things that the Japanese team would tell them and certain things they kept secret, certain things that or just cultural differences and things, and, I mean, again, all the changes they were making to the show, and, I
Yeah.
mean, crazy, a ton of more than I ever knew.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so we just hoped we did it right and that the person directing us understood a little bit more about the bigger picture than we did, even though they were limited with information as well, so
Yeah. 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 I was like, you know what? Valid.
Yeah, I
I was
mean, it's
like,
the same today. Like, sometimes
mhm.
I'll get a director who's read the manga and is an otaku, and sometimes I'll get a director who, like, this is just a job and they don't know much. They just know episode by episode and
Mhm.
they're winging it. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Steve Yurko.
And I'm Tara Sands. Now available from Maji Media is our new podcast, 4Kids Flashback. 4Kids is the company who brought you the English dub of Pokemon in the late 90s and so many other shows like Yu-Gi-Oh!, Shaman King, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Kirby, the infamous One Piece dub, and so many more.
We'll be talking to the people who worked at 4Kids. Actors, directors, writers, editors, producers, engineers, you get the point. And hopefully get the answers to questions both you and I have about the company.
I actually worked there as a voice actor on some of the shows,
And I was a kid watching the shows and remember way more than Tara does.
and thank God for that. Steve is actually a professional storyboard artist, which gives some really unique insights into anime and animation. Subscribe today wherever you get your podcasts. That's the number 4 Kids Flashback.
Hey guys, welcome to the Patreon shoutout portion of today's episode. And today we have 2 types of shoutouts, which are monthly shoutouts and our weekly shoutouts. So, if you want to subscribe to the Patreon, you get exclusive access to behind the scenes stuff, Patreon exclusive videos, and the episode a whole day early. So yeah, let's get into the monthly shoutouts. Shout out to Jeremy and Ellie. Thank you guys so much. And now the weekly shoutout. Thank you to Buff Boy, Brooke, Blythe, Bunny, Geo, Keith, and Mikey. Thank you guys so much for all your support. If you want to support, link will be down in the description. And yeah, back to the episode. Yeah, totally. So to get back on Pokemon for a minute, if you could pick your own starter Pokemon, who would you pick?
Not Mr. Mime. I always just rule him out whenever I get asked a Pokemon question. I'm like, just not Mr. Mime. I mean, it depends if my problem with picking a Pokemon is I go with cuteness.
Same here.
And it's not like I don't know who battles well, but like I love Oddish. Like we were talking about Oddish, like what?
Yeah.
I mean, Eevee's always the cutest. So, I'm like looking around my shelves to see what I see. But I always have to say Bulbasaur. And we interviewed a gamer, a YouTube influencer, Tamahiro, recently, who broke down exactly why Bulbasaur really is the best starter.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. It was great.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
I have to pick a starter. Yeah, I mean, I gotta go with Bulbasaur. Also because the vines are so cool.
Yeah.
And like, you feel like Bulbasaur is like a good cuddle, but also could be vicious.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, like when we started watching the Pokemon Journeys where Ash is finally finishing up his story, and it was the episode
70 years old, and
yeah, literally.
Aww.
And it's the episode with Bulbasaur and Charizard come back with him, and I'm like, I'm crying. I am.
Oh,
because he's just so cute.
I'm gonna share like a private thing that happened today because I think it's something I want to like just show you like how lovely this whole community is. Sarah, who played Ash in those later years, like I only met her recently, reached out to me and she was like, there's a someone ill who would love a message from Michael Hagney, who played Charizard in the original. Like, could you reach out? Like, so I put them in touch and like this, it's how cool is that we're able to like do good with this whole thing. And like these are like just really quality human beings that are like, of course I'll help. How can I help? Where can I be? What can I say? Like it's I don't know why I said, but you said the end of Ash's journey and I was like, yeah, Sarah was awesome. Yeah. Veronica was awesome. Like these are just really great people that I've gotten to work with. So
yeah, that is so lovely. Oh, because having this be technically my job, I'm watching a lot of anime and I'm online a lot, but seeing kind of a nice positive fandom is so nice,
right?
Like, it's such a nice breath of fresh air.
Yeah,
like,
with all the crap in the world, it's like nice that this is like a wholesome sweet thing.
Yeah, like I love My Hero is my favorite show of all time. And does the fandom scare me? Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
I also a bummer how quickly I died on that show, but whatever. That's my own issue.
Yeah. I will say you were a very pivotal character in that in NMHA. You were very pivotal.
But I wanted to do more.
I know.
Because I was so excited. She was so much fun. So yeah.
And her character design is so sick.
I wish I saw more people cosplay that. It's such a cool design.
Yeah.
It's not a crazy hard cosplay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's more fun ones, I guess.
I guess. But yeah, with Ash ending his journey and everything, my partner has been sobbing every episode because she's an even bigger Pokemon fan than I am. Like, yeah, I
don't think I could watch it. Yeah, I don't think I can handle it.
I'm like, they don't have to do that. Like, there's a shot of him saying bye to Butterfree again, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Butterfree episode. Yeah. I like asking people like which episodes made them cry because it's like the Butterfree made people cry, the Richie arc.
Yep.
I like that. I like being part of kids crying, not in the way that like that, in the way that like that's a really cool thing for a kid to see that is it within them, like, that they can be moved by this. Like, I think that's a cool realization, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
So mean. It sounds so mean when I
No,
say it, but
I I said this a couple weeks ago on the show, but I had in our public library, we had Pokemon VHSs, right? We would rent out. And they were only like 3 episodes per VHS. And I rented one and it had Bye Bye Butterfree on it
Aw.
and the where he finds Charmander episode,
Oh.
which is also depressing as hell because Charmander went through some shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, was this designed to make kids cry? Just
Oh. Yeah, I'm in the process of editing doing a tribute episode to Maddie Blaustein, who played Meowth and sadly
Yeah.
passed away. And I got, messages from people about her and like some interviews she did and in her own words, and like what the character of Meowth meant to her, and it's all very heavy and deep stuff. And it's like it's a hard edit to get through because it's heavy. And when you really like that Go West Meowth, or one of is that, and then there was a book also. I don't want to confuse the episode title with the book, but these are these are morality tales, and we're supposed to be teachable moments and all that stuff, and they are, and that's a lot.
yeah, it's a lot for a kids show.
Yeah, for a little, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. But maybe that's why it sustains, I
Yeah.
mean, people always ask me why I think, and there's so many reasons, but that's a big one,
Yeah. So going to Shaman King for a
Ooh.
little bit. You play Anna.
Ooh, yeah.
How is that as an actor? Because it's pretty deep.
It's so funny. I was just talking about this yesterday. Like, we did a Saturday. How cool to have done a Saturday morning version of Shaman King, and then to do a Netflix version of Shaman King, because the acting styles are different, and what a cool thing to have been part of. But Anna, I love. Like, Anna is my favorite kind of character. So a tough broad who's well intentioned and doesn't always know how to say things the right way, but it comes from love. And she really is the brains of a lot of that operation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think what to say about it, but it's just such a fun, juicy role and a fun thing to have been part of. Like, I feel really lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, when it got announced, because Shaman King again was one of my favorites growing up, because I was a kid who loved Dragon Ball and beating people up. I guess I was like, ooh, yay! And the theme song, whoo,
all those theme songs,
all of them,
come on,
yeah. The One Piece rap, oh my god.
He did it live at for the first time at a convention at NostalgiaCon. They brought him in, and he did. It was the most fun. Oh, he's terrific. He's one of our very early episodes, and he was an engineer at 4Kids, and not everyone. I didn't know at the time that he had a legitimate rap background. Like, not like, oh, he dabbled in rap. Like, he had a real career in rap. You guys, I won't make this interview about Sean Conrad, but I could. But if you want to listen to like one episode, listen to his, because his story is just amazing. And they needed a rapper, and he's like, "Oh, you guys are doing this wrong. Let me help you with this rap."
Yeah,
and it's awesome. It bops.
Yeah,
it bops.
It does.
It hits. It kicks. I don't know the words.
Yeah.
Sorry, Shaman King. I digress.
Oh yeah, no. I was just the theme song it always gets stuck in my head. And it was just
Shaman King.
Yeah. Oh, so good.
And Sebastian Arcelus, who played Yo, does sing a little bit on there.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. I can't remember which part, but he's on there somewhere. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah. All of the 4Kids theme songs slapped. Like, I stand by Digimon being one of my favorites. Okay. Yu-Gi-Oh's intro was beautiful.
Stuff. Yeah. I love the Ninja Turtles. I love that one.
Yeah. That one was so good.
But I know my favorite though is Gerby, Gerby, Gerby. That's the name of that. Gerby, Gerby. That's the other mystery we have not solved. We cannot find the singer of that song.
Oh. Yeah. Damn. Yeah.
I know, it's a bummer. We've worked on it. We've tried. Yeah.
Oh my
I tried
God.
to, like, track down the studio where it was recorded in LA, like,
Yeah.
there's this it's a dead end. It's so sad.
Yeah, geez. Oh my God. Yeah. So what were some fun little stories from when you were working with 4 kids?
I mean, like, it's more like just memories, like, it's
Mhm.
stories, like, when we would all go out to see, like, Jim Malone, who was a director and producer, we'd see his band play and Eric Stewart's band play, like, it's those kind of memories, like,
Mhm.
pizza day on Wednesdays and bagel days on you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of the because we didn't get to record together except for on Turtles,
Mhm.
um, there's not as much because there we were so isolated, like, maybe,
Yeah.
be you and the director and the engineer, so, like, we'd have fun, but, like, it was different than Turtles where they would all get to actually record together.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of, like, anecdotes, but yeah, I mean, I like things like, "Oh, wait, my character gets kidnapped again?" Things like that. And Kirby was so much fun because Andrew Rannells directed that, and I
Okay.
got to talk to myself
Wow.
in that show, like, I played, Fololo and Falala, and usually we record one character at a time, but I had more fun if I could do them both, try to challenge myself, which is a dumb way to do it, but that was fun, like, stuff like
Mhm.
that, and, like, the office culture was fun, just there's lots of pets running around, there was a rabbit.
Oh.
Yeah, it was like it's that kind of stuff that I
Mhm.
remember more than actual, like,
Yeah.
"This hilarious thing happened."
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Oh my God. Oh, I love that. Jesus, that's
And it
so
was all very New York. I mean, I
yeah.
I always go back to, like, we spent more time together because in New York, it was just easier, like, you'd be like, "Oh, are you walking to the subway? Let's grab a drink,
Yeah.
let's get dinner," like, it doesn't happen as much in LA that in that way that I would
Mhm.
love it to, but yeah.
Yeah. So going from kind of your whole like moving from 4 kids to being an anime now, how has your relationship with anime changed over time?
I mean, not that I didn't respect it before, but I understand it more now.
Mhm.
And I understand that there's source material we're working from, so I just have a deeper respect for it.
Mhm.
Because again, I didn't know there was this manga that existed, and then I mean, like, it's all that kind of stuff. I
Yeah.
also really appreciate when there's a good adaptation of something that's
Mhm.
really true to the story and that makes. I didn't understand then that how important it was to the again, because we didn't meet the audience,
Yeah.
that how important it was to the audience that we preserve moments from the manga and things
Mhm.
like that, and, so just my approach is a little bit different, but unfortunately, sometimes I'll get to the studio and, like, a thing won't fit, and then we'll change a line, and we don't realize because there's not, like there's so many steps the script goes through when it's translated,
Yeah.
that we don't know that we're changing something that was in the manga and that was important, so I hope we're cognizant of that, but I just approach it all very differently now. I take it, you know, I took it seriously then, um, but I didn't know who was watching. Like I
Mhm.
now when you see you and I see the faces of the people that are watching, I
Mhm.
can imagine that when
Yeah.
I'm working and be like, "All right, is this?" And obviously it's not like we have to just do it to please people, but we want to be as there's a lot of actors who don't wanna listen to the original Japanese and play but I feel like that's important, and
Mhm.
because they often meet the writers and creators, and we don't. So, there's a lot more that I think about when I'm dubbing it than I used to.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So what advice do you have for people wanting to get into voice
Oh,
acting?
no. Don't. Uh, I want to be optimistic, but this
Mhm.
industry's really changed, and
Yeah.
it has to be. Yeah, I had someone come up to me at a convention recently, and they were like, "Okay, but, like, what's a shortcut?" And I was like, ah, because "Is there just someone I could meet?" I was like, "No, if there
No.
was that person, I'd be working all the time." I mean,
Yeah.
listen, I'm struggling for work right now because of things like AI and less production moving to different places, like, I've done this since I was 16 years old, and I'm worried about it. So it's hard for me to encourage people unless this is the only thing they want to do. If you love this, and I said to the guy, I said, if you want to do this and you're not staying up all night Googling and reading everything you can about voiceover, then you should not do this. You're an actor first and foremost. So you should be in acting classes. Don't do anything if you haven't done that.
Yeah.
And then you can start honing in on like, okay, well, maybe I'll study with this person. But it's a bummer to me when people start spending too much when they're not really ready. So my advice is always go into like Facebook voiceover groups, on Instagram, Discord. There's so much if you just start Googling, and put together a practice group for free on Zoom with people. You can get scripts online and just practice reading. Because if you're not comfortable doing that, then it's not the right job. So I always say, like, find those free ways to find out if this is something you love before you sink a ton of money into it.
Yeah.
And then once you're getting the right encouragement, if you're hearing from other people like you are good at this, maybe then you put your money into a great coaching session. And, there's a lot of actors. My advice is also there's a lot of actors coaching, which is great. If you love the way they work, that's fine. But I would put my money more into people who are actually directing or casting, because a lot of them also coach. Because actors don't always, unless they work, there's also actors who also direct, and that's great. But I don't really know what goes on behind I've never felt comfortable teaching because I don't really understand the behind the scenes as much as I should to teach. So that's like my advice, that if this is really what you want to do, then Google's your best friend, and figuring out free ways to train it before you start, yeah, I guess. And I don't want to
Yeah.
be pessimistic, but the truth
No,
is we don't know what's going to happen with AI. And
it's
until
true.
we do, I feel irresponsible encouraging people. So
Yeah, totally. I totally get that, and it's I hate it. Yeah. Um oh, love AI so much.
uh,
So great. So I have some voice actor friends who watch the show, and I'm wondering if you have any advice for uh going to cons, getting invited to cons, kind of like not how to,
oh
but
yeah.
like how to handle yourself kind of thing, if it's their first time guesting.
Yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
listen, I think my advice with a lot of this stuff is read a room.
Mhm.
If you're and listen, there are plenty of voice actors I know who are on the spectrum, and they're amazing people, and they just need a little guidance with things like that. So I don't want to discourage it, but a lot of it's reading a room, and like being able to, we there's actually, if they want to listen to my interview with Matthew Sussman,
Mhm.
that's a really interesting place to start, because he was new to conventions and didn't realize like the energy, how exhausted he was at the end of the day
Yeah.
from expelling that kind of energy.
Oh yeah.
Because every person you talk to, this is an exciting day for them.
Mhm.
And it might just be another convention for us, but it's not for them. And if I don't, I never want to be someone who made it a bad convention for them, or who didn't
Totally.
deliver. Like, and again, it's a pressure that I put on myself. But I also think if you want to keep being invited, you do that
Mhm.
because you want to be a good guest. And yes, and there's a financial incentive to that as well. But it's also, what can you sleep? How can you sleep with how do you sleep with yourself? How do you sleep? No, how do you sleep at night? You know what I mean?
There we
Like, I
go.
want
Yeah.
to feel like if I'm exhausted, I don't like to necessarily go to dinner or go out after a day at a convention, because my voice and my self is tired,
Yeah.
because I've given everything I can to these amazing people who are nice enough to show up and talk to me. So I think that's the attitude. Like, there's a lot of people who are going into it now for the reason of going to conventions, and that's not the reason to do that,
Yeah.
to become a voice actor. So, and again, like, share information, a lot of us, like, if you ask us a very specific question online, like, hey, who do you like for doing commissions of artwork? Things like, when we get specific questions, we're usually happy to answer them. It's the broader questions where we're like, I don't know. I can't,
Yeah.
like, but if people do have questions like that, ask your favorite voice actors online.
Mhm.
Also reach out to conventions. I have agents, but there's a lot of conventions. I if there's a city I wanna go to, or there's a cast reunion somewhere that I see that I haven't been invited to, I'll send a note to that convention.
Mhm.
9 times out of 10, they ignore me.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this a long time, and they ignore me. So you can't be discouraged. But I also feel like if I'm not do, I'm a worker. You know what I mean? Like I can't sit back and wait to be invited. So um, go, and people are like, well, how do I get the list? I go, you Google anime convention list, and a big
Literally.
one pops up.
Mhm.
Uh, it's really that simple.
Yeah.
Or comic convention list. So yeah, don't wait for a great agent to do that for you. Be proactive, do that stuff yourself. Yeah, that's my advice to them, is just be proactive about it. Figure out what your big role is that people are going to want to see you for, and then see, I literally will, I happen to follow all my friends. So, like, if I see, oh, so and so's going here, I mean, at that point, maybe the convention's full, but oh my gosh, we do so well when we're together. And people like seeing this character and this character together,
Yeah.
so it's stuff like that. So you write them and say, hey, I saw you're having blah, blah, blah. I played opposite them. Yeah, pitch yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that, like, drainedness from meet and greet, because I did I did my first one in last March for Toronto Comic Con,
Uh huh.
and I was like, before that I was like, I'm gonna be fine. Oh, I don't. And then it was 2 hours, and after that 2 hours I was like, I want to
Yeah.
nap right now.
Yeah. Well, like, your face hurts from smiling
Mm-hmm.
sometimes because, again, and not that you have to smile the whole time because you're a real person, but
Yeah.
I meet a lot of little kids
Mm-hmm.
and they're shy sometimes, so I have to put on the thing. Um, but yeah, if you do it right, you should be tired.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, I am so dead. I
Mhm.
understand why these celebrities and everything at cons are so tired. I understand now. Because
Yeah,
I was
and
like,
yeah.
oh, they're like, we're gonna go out to eat, and I'm like, I am not.
Well, and I mean, listen, like, we hear about the ones that are not giving that, like,
Hmm.
people will come to my table and be like, I met so and so. I don't they don't think they wanted to be there, or they rushed me through, and I
Yeah.
never want to be that
No.
person. Yeah, so just, be a decent human.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was very true. Just be just be a decent human.
Or be the person you would wanna meet. Like,
Mhm.
listen, I don't watch anime, but this is actually my real advice. Like, I don't happen to watch this stuff that I work in, but I know that if there is a convention of all people who were on The Office, I would freak out, and I'd be
Mhm.
nervous and think about what you would want when you go up to that table. That's all
Mhm.
it is. I mean, it's
Yeah.
that simple. So, yeah,
Yeah.
give them what
So
you would want.
so speaking of that, has there been a time at a con where you've been starstruck, or are you
Oh,
just kind of
oh,
chill?
yeah. I have 3 that
Okay.
really stand out. So,
Mhm.
Danny Trejo, because oh my
Okay.
god, Danny Trejo. Yeah, so I got to meet him and get a picture with him, and it was, like,
Mhm.
the best hug I've ever had. I just think about that hug a lot. No, yeah, and he's freaking Danny Trejo.
Yeah.
Yeah. C. Thomas Howell, who was in the movie The Outsiders.
Yeah.
I totally fangirled. Um, there was one other one. So the other big one, but I think there was one more, but, uh, Parks and Rec. I'm a huge fan of the show Parks and Rec,
Yeah.
and the actor Jim O'Heir who played Jerry. I was
Oh
at a
my
convention with
gosh.
him, and like, he is such a cool guy that I was able to just go over and be like, "I'm freaking out." Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, you can just say it to him, and, like, when
Yeah.
you're another guest, they're kinda cool about it, and I
Mhm.
literally bought a Funko there and had him sign it. It's right up there. Um, yeah, totally fangirled. Like,
Yeah.
and then, like, I found myself doing the thing where, like, I'd just be watching him, and I'm like, "Don't do that, Tara." Like, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't like when people do that to me.
Yeah.
I shouldn't do that to him, but, yeah, totally I fangirl, yeah,
Yeah.
I fangirled the other day really hard.
Mhm.
I think I talked about this on the podcast, I don't know. I went to see a play out here, a musical, and, in the audience was Cynthia Erivo and George Takei.
What?
I know. I know. And luckily
Jesus.
people were being cool and didn't seem
Yeah.
to be bothering them. And like I didn't like run over or anything. I just
Yeah.
but then you find yourself even watching them during the play. Like, oh, does she think that's funny? You know what I mean? Like, oh my God. Like I
Yeah.
just wish I could not be so impressed.
Yeah. Yeah. Straight up. Well, when I was at London Comic-Con, when I first met Greg, I was like, "Hello, how are you? I'm going to be interviewing you on stage." And he's just like, "Hello."
Oh
I
my
see
yeah,
my
if you knew what a dork Greg was,
Yeah.
you would never be nervous.
Yeah. Yeah. Or there was this one time, it was after, I think it was Sunday of New York Comic-Con like a couple years ago. And the wrestling was in town, and
Oh.
I'm a pretty big wrestling fan. And so I'm like eating my sushi, and like we're just having a dinner, and I look up, and this 7-foot tall man comes in, and I'm like, look behind you. And
Who
like,
is
this is a
7 who's
tiny, yeah, this is a tiny sushi restaurant in Hell's Kitchen, and he's just sitting down, and he's like taking up the entire seat. And I was like,
who was it?
it was Omos.
I
That's his
don't know
name.
anything.
Yeah.
But that's so cool, especially in like a little place like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
I
was
know.
like, I know that he's 7 foot. That can't be anyone else.
And that poor guy, like, listen, I'm 4'11". I can like, and it's just my voice, so I
Yeah.
can get away with everything. Like, if I
Mhm.
looked like Bulbasaur, it would be a problem.
Yeah.
But that poor guy goes through life and just you can't hide.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I was eating, and then someone was like, "Oh, you should go say hi." I was like, "No, he's eating. Like, I'm not gonna do that." They placed him at the front, so like
Oh
his leg is
God.
taking up the entire aisle.
Oh.
So we have to walk by, and like, so, "Oh, sorry, excuse me," and like I did the like thing, and then I
Yeah,
left.
but you can always like just say like big fan. You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like I did that recently in the airport because I
Mhm.
saw Fred. I told this story on the podcast. I saw Fred
Yeah.
Armisen.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
and
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of his.
Mhm.
So I just like very quietly said big fan as I walked past him.
Yeah.
And like, cause I didn't want, no one was annoying him. And I was like, I don't want to draw attention to him, but I'm going to kick
course.
myself if I don't say it because
Mhm.
I feel like he deserves to hear it. It was more
Yeah.
about that. I was like, he deserves to hear that all the time.
Mhm.
And I'm going to make sure he hears it. Maybe he's having a crappy day and this will make, who knows? Like,
Yeah.
but I had to say something.
Yeah. Totally. And then like even doing the show, there's been some times where like, again, waiting for the person to pop up, and I'm
Yeah.
like I'm like,
Yeah,
"It's fine."
I get it.
And then they pop up, and I'm like, "It's fine." And then it's fine. But I'm always like,
Yeah, listen, no, the real douches are not gonna say yes to doing an interview usually, or
Mhm.
like you'll kinda know from online who the kinda jerks are,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's easy to there's not that many. In the voiceover world, there's not so many, luckily.
Yeah, luckily. I've
Yeah.
had nothing but good interactions,
good.
thankfully. Even though every time I say what advice do you have for people getting into it? And everyone's like,
I
don't be an
know.
asshole. And I'm like,
I know, well, yeah, right? Isn't
Yeah.
it's so funny, yeah.
yeah. I'm like, where are these assholes? Like,
There's
oh,
assholes, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. But and the industry for the most part like gets rid of them.
Mhm.
But some of them are really talented and stick around.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you. This is fun.
Of course. Where can the lovely people find you?
Oh gosh. On social media, I'm trying to be better about that at Tara Sands VO. Try to keep it simple.
Yeah.
And our YouTube channel, if you want to check out the podcast, it's 4Kids Flashback, the number 4.com. And on socials, just at 4Kids Flashback. Our YouTube channel is weird because you have to put the @ sign. You have to be like youtube.com/@
Oh.
4Kids Flashback, which is kind of annoying. Yeah, I know. Like, it's nice when it's all uniform, but
Yeah. Yeah. I will say before we go, your business cards for 4Kids Flashback, incredible.
Yeah. Thank you. Very proud of those.
Yeah, we got one at
New York Comic-Con.
New York Comic-Con.
Okay, good.
And yeah, and I was like, this is genius.
Should we tell people what they look like?
Oh, yes.
Because now we're just being very vague.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I needed something to promote the podcast.
Mhm.
And so first I was like, there's like these templates online where you can make like a Pokemon card. And then I was like, wait, what if one side is a Pokemon card and one side is a Yu-Gi-Oh card? And then I spent way too much time designing it.
Yeah.
And people are just and it's nice when people, business cards are so boring. So it's nice when people are excited to get it. I don't know if it translates to listens where likes and subscribes and reviews and all that, but still, it's fun to hand them out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I got it and I was like, oh, this is so cool.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Yeah.
The only thing that's kind of a bummer is that the Pokemon cards are rounded and Yu-Gi-Oh cards are square, so it's not as accurate as it could be.
Yeah.
That's petty, but you know.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was like.
Yeah. So, that's all right. I'll live.
But yeah, thank you again so much for coming on.
Thank you.
So
yeah, we're promoting your podcast on our show too. So I love that we did a swap.
Yes.
That's what they call in the business.
Yes. So yeah, you guys at home can follow me on Instagram at Corky Cosplays, Adam Corky, everywhere else. Subscribe to the Patreon. You get the episodes a day early and as well as some lovely exclusives. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye. Perfect.
Bye.